Hey guys, here I am with another Paleo-Zoo-Keeper rant. This one will be number 14. As I develop my next video for the raising the dire wolves, I often thought about the whole controversy around it. Especially since as you probably many of you would know, they're not true dire wolves. They are wolves modified with traits like that of the dire wolf, to be similar to that of the dire wolf. And as time went on, and also at the same time, dire wolves were not one of the species that they say they're going to make back then. They generally mostly focused on the dodo, the thylacine, and the woolly mammoth. So it was definitely a surprise when they announced that they made dire wolves. Well, quote unquote, made dire wolves. And I kind of in one of my videos, I pretty much said, I don't remember that on Colossal's list. Not because it wasn't on their list. That makes me wonder what else they were up to. And it makes me wonder, what else could they be up to? Like what if they decide to have other species, like presumably resurrected species that they might surprise us with? And when I did brainstorming on that, I come up with 3 possible species that they could probably surprise us with if they choose to. Now, I chose these species primarily because it's pretty similar to like that of the dire wolf. Since we have a living relative that, in some ways, is not too dissimilar from the extinct relative, and B, just some simple modifications would make them pretty similar, at least ecologically speaking, to the said extinct species. And also using the basal species, surrogate species, as surrogates for the offspring would be easier than how their initial target species are said to be. So here are my top 3 proposed colossal surprise species. The first animal on this list would be the short-faced bear. This bear was found in the Ice Age, and there are actually 2 varieties of short-faced bears. While they're not that close, they are still from the same family. There's Arctos of North America and Arctotherium of South America. The short-faced bear were massive. When they stand on their hind legs, they could stand up to 11 to 12 feet tall, and they could be able to weigh between 1,500 to 2,200 pounds. And when they're on 4s, they can stand up to 5.5 to 6 feet tall at the shoulder. They were very, very big bears. And I chose this bear because we do have a living relative of them here living today, the South American speckled-faced bear. And what kind of alterations would be needed for these bears? Well, one will obviously be the size. Now, while we don't have any bears that are close to this size, we do have pretty large bears that could be a good start. We basically have both the polar bear and the Kodiak grizzly bear, both of which we could be able to use their size genes in order to do a modification of. Also, the limb proportions of a short-faced bear is definitely different than that of the modern speckled bear. So we can use genes that are responsible for limb proportions from the polar bear. And this is because short-faced bears, in comparison with the speckled bear, they have proportionally longer legs, proportionally speaking. And also, now this one's going to be a bit a weird one, but some of the genes that are responsible for their molars, we can probably use the panda bear for the gap, because they have large molars. Now I know, like I said again, this is weird, but proportionally speaking, speckled-faced bears have pretty small molars, while especially compared to the short-faced bear. Pretty much using panda's genes that have large molars, at least not the complete genes of the panda bear, but at least some that allow their molars to get pretty big. This will help the short-faced bears to be able to process hard materials, especially um, especially bones. So they'll open up the bones and eat the marrow. And speaking of like bones and marrow, I will definitely say that the genes responsible for the diet of the speckled bear wouldn't be modified, especially the APOB gene, which is responsible for some of the dietary metabolisms. And I want to base this off the grizzly bear. While the speckled bear is a bit of an omnivore, it definitely loves vegetation more so than most bears, other than the panda bear. And while grizzly bears do go for a wide variety of plant material as food, they would definitely go for meat like fish and carrion quite often. And I believe that this will definitely be something to do for the short-faced bear. At least if Colossal decide to try to make a short-faced bear. Also, we have done embryo transfers in bears before. At least we have at least tried that in American black bears. It could be done, not easily, but it could be doable. Now for number two, I kind of cheated a little bit and incorporated two species, since while they are two species, they are pretty close to each other, and one is descended from the other. And that is the cave lion and the American lion. Now I choose them because obviously we have lions living today, and we can either African or Asiatic lions we can use, probably the Asiatic variety. And there are definitely some alterations that we could definitely do that help to make it work. For basically that we could be, for basically that for lar- for basically like cold adapted traits, we can use the Siberian tiger and the snow leopard to give them like traits that can help them be able to adapt to the cold, like better, thicker fur and so forth. And the lack of a mane for both varieties, well, lions are the only ones who have manes like this, so we could probably use the genes from either type of big, from many types of cats, big cats especially. And in the case of basically, like, say, the American lion for size, this one will be tricky, but we could, in theory, use the ligers for that. Now, hear me out. While true that ligers can get pretty big, almost on par with that of the American lion, but it can be tricky because the reason how they get big is that the male lion has genes that encourage large growth, but the lioness's genes pretty much keep it more controlled. Whereas tigers don't have this limitation, so that's why they can keep getting bigger. But also, even though they can get this big, it could give them problems. Like they could become so heavy that they get hip dysplasia, and they also get very, very heavy that they're not going to be able to run well. However, mind you that a liger is not just a lion, but also a tiger. And tigers are generally a little more robust than a lion. Lions are more lightly built, so they can be able to run faster. Tigers are more robust, so for power in the woods. So, in some ways, the genes that help make that can theoretically make an American lion larger could probably work. With some steady modifications, that is. And for social behavior, well, unlike African lions or at least modern lions, it's most likely that the cave and American lions either were solitary or lived in pairs. So they didn't live in large prides or much prides at all. So we could probably use the genes responsible for their social behavior from living cats, whether it's like a solitary, like a tiger, or maybe have occasional groupings like the cheetah. But basically, they're not going to be able to need big social groups like modern day lions do. Also, we also do have done embryo transfers in big cats before, relatively easier than bears. So we've been able. So that's one of the reasons why. These are some of the reasons of why I pretty much chose this animal, along with the fact that we have found mummified specimens of cave lions. So I would say it's quite plausible. And last but certainly not least, number one, bison latifrons. Now, arguably, this is actually probably one of my favorite Ice Age animals. Being a ranch kid, it's probably one of the reasons why. And now for the traits, I would say for size traits, like on weight and such, we could probably use the genes of some rhinos, especially the Indian or better known as the greater one horn, or the white rhinos. Use their size genes to alter obviously the basal genome of a bison, whether most likely the woodland bison of North America, or just the American bison in general. And I would definitely use some of the traits from the Indian cow bovid, the largest species of bovid living today, the gaur or gar, which which have some adaptations for dealing with their large size, and we could be able to use that do the, to be able to help them from a bovid point of view to help them with size. And for the Longhorns, I would say the Ankole Watusi cattle, an African breed of cow that are renowned for having such long horns, and maybe some Texas Longhorns along with, but the Ankole Watusi cattle would definitely be the best ones to go. And despite being a type of bison or American buffalo, whichever you prefer, they, the bison latifrons is more of a browser rather than a grazer. So, using some of the dietary genes of the moose would perhaps be able to make them be more interested in browsing more so than grazing. I mean, they can still go for grazing if they need to, but you definitely want them to be more browsers than grazers, like the true bison latifrons. And 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 one of the reasons I chose this is that not only would the basal genome is pretty much there, not only that we can use American bison or even domesticated cattle to carry the embryos, but Colossal Biosciences is already doing doing genetic stuff on bison. Well, primarily just to increase the gene pool to like it was before they were eradicated in the Wild West days. But I can imagine, like, maybe one of these days, they might decide to try to recreate the bison latifrons, or even another extinct group of American bison, or maybe even the steppe bison, like one project is trying to do in Siberia. So, out of these three creatures, I think the bison latifron will be another most likely surprise species of Colossal Biosciences. So, what do you think, guys? Do you agree with it with these concepts and ideas, or do you have other thoughts in mind? Let me know in the comment section below. If you liked it, if you like this video, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. So that it really helps out this channel. I hope you all have a grand day. Adios.